I'm so excited to have Penny Tremblay here. She's the founder of Play Nice in the Sandbox. She's a workplace relationship expert, an author, a mediator, a business owner, and a very good friend of mine. And Penny, since you know a lot about a conflict and we are approaching the holiday season and there is sometimes conflict, I have a question that might be a little bit unusual for you, but as we all know, people have different dietary choices and restrictions. So how would you suggest that someone approaches the host in hopes of having the food at the gathering that they would really like to have?
Okay, this is a really great question because, you know, it reminds me of this funniest cartoon that I saw, or this funniest Facebook post that I saw, where this I'm assuming grandmother is having her whole family over for a holiday meal, and she says, after going through all of my family members and taking note of all of the dietary restrictions and requirements and desires, I finally sorted out my menu, and it's a picture of a bowl of ice. And I'm serving ice. You know, we've got vegans, and we've got vegetarians, and we've got gluten-free, and we've got, you know, the lactose intolerant, and we've got this, and this is way more popular today than it was when I can remember. My mom had a big family do for Christmas. We had like 25 and 35 people over. We used to set up this really long table. It extended out the kitchen and into the living room, and everybody ate what was being served. And I'm not making today wrong and back then right, but I am saying that this is new. This is fairly new for hosts to manage. And, you know, especially now that we've spent a lot of time in isolation, we've spent a lot of time at our homes cooking for ourselves, and, you know, we've decided on ways that we want to eat and so on. It is getting increasingly difficult for one menu to satisfy all people. So here's a suggestion that I have, is that, number one, always number one step that I have for conflict resolution, and I would consider this somewhat of a conflict, or a conflicting, inner idea of how you're possibly going to satisfy a group of people, is people should be taking responsibility for themselves. So, you know, putting your restriction or suggestions, dietary needs on somebody else is, it's really not their responsibility to serve you exactly the way you want to be served. So, that would be my first suggestion for anybody who's hoping that somebody else is going to satisfy them, is recognizing that's really not their responsibility. Now, I know that if I'm going to have a dinner, I want people to come and really enjoy what I'm having. So I want to ask them in advance. And I know it can get cumbersome to be able to satisfy everybody. So one of the suggestions that I would have is, perhaps have a collaboration on how you can ask people to bring certain things. So if you have a collection of things on your table, that it's likely that people are going to have some choices that work for them. And I see this at the conferences that I've gone to as of late. And when I say that, I mean, in the last 2 or 3 years, rather than a breakfast buffet that has the heated thing of eggs and then bacon and, the typical bread, there's a buffet of all kinds of options. They're not making yogurt parfaits. They're making, well, here's the plain yogurt, and here's the plain berries, and here's the plain granola, and here's the plain syrup. And so when you can just put out whole foods, you often have lots of choices, so people can, make their choices. And, recognizing that this is an opportunity to gather and socialize and be together and have great conversation. It's not the end of the world if somebody only has 2 out of your 15 choices, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And share the load, share the work, ask people to bring a couple of things that work for their kids, or that, and people that have like, let's say, celiac children, or nut allergies and things like that. They're used to doing that. They're used to feeding their children every day, sending them to sports or school with healthy snacks and whatnot. So don't feel like the burden's all yours. Share that responsibility. And if you're the one who has those food restrictions and dietary restrictions, and you're taking responsibility by asking if you can bring some things that work for you, don't feel bad about that. And this is, I think, one of the anxieties that people have, is that they're anxious about what other people are going to think about them because they're not eating or doing what everybody else eats and does. And you know what? If you're going to make these choices for yourself, then stand in that, right? I've worked with people who have, let's say, mental health issues around eating and food. And one of the things that I understood long ago is that there's always food and sometimes food. And, your always food can be a certain standard, or, according to your liking, but, sometimes it's okay to eat other things. And I think that a lot of it is like a mindset thing. It's okay. Like, give yourself permission, unless it's a severe allergy and you're going to get really sick. But, give yourself permission to just be open to trying new things, or, adding something to your plate that you wouldn't necessarily choose to eat on a regular basis. That kind of helps alleviate the internal stress that you might be putting on yourself. But also, don't be afraid to show up to a table where everybody's plates are heaping with everything from the buffet, and you've only chosen to have 2 or 3 options. And if somebody says, like, what, you don't like what's being served, or you don't, you're not eating much these days, own it, stand in it and say, no, actually, I am quite happy with the choices that I've made here. And I'm just so, enjoying this so much, and all of the company. Oftentimes we let other people dictate and determine how happy we're going to be in a situation. But the truth is that we have so much of that control, how happy we are going to be despite what other people are doing. And it's not really it's none of our business what other people think of us. It's our business of what we think of us. And if we could just, use that as an opportunity to take better care of ourselves, self-worth, self-approval, self-love, and just be peaceful in here, then a lot of all of this stuff that we're encountering with other people is going to be peaceful as well.
Thank you, Penny. As you were speaking, I was thinking of my friend Lee's annual Christmas party that she did for all her neighbors all the time and friends. And we always had a potluck. And I loved it because so many different food choices came in. You would get different recipes. And then when there's so much choice, nobody really looks what you have on your plate. So you don't have to worry about that. So thank you again. And as a host, I think it's a wonderful idea for others to bring food, and you don't have to do all the work. So it sounds like a win-win for everyone.
Corinne, one more thought that I want to mention as you're playing these recordings through your program, is that we've spent a lot of time in isolation. We have what I would call the cave syndrome, where we become very comfortable in our own space, eating our own stuff, being with our own people. And there's a reluctancy for people to get out and to mix and mingle and enjoy the company of other people. But it's so important. It is so very important. And I think it's really worth people pushing themselves outside of their known comfort zone, and just being in the space of other people, and using this holiday upcoming as an opportunity to collaborate, as an opportunity to strengthen relationships, to get on those pre-Zoom calls to find out how things are going to go, or to have those family conversations about the potential meal, or vaccinations, or how it's a great opportunity to reconnect and to keep that going, because humanity really needs that social connection right now.
We really do, yes. And I really hope that everyone is able to see all their friends and their loved ones over the holidays. And thanks again, Benny, for joining us. And I hope that you all have a tasty and conflict-free holiday.
Well, I don't know if conflict-free is possible, but it's peaceful despite any conflict, because there will always be conflict.
Okay, good. Peaceful and joyful.
Yes, I wish you and all of your listeners so much peace and joy this holiday season.
Thank you, Benny. It was wonderful to have you for this series of videos. I appreciate it.